in a weekend interview, the Public Safety Minister said the Public Safety Committee could not call the National Security Advisor because that meeting would contain classified information. Today, the Prime Minister suggests only Privy Councillors can get the same briefing as reporters because of classified information. So is the Prime Minister telling Canadians that the National Security Advisor revealed classified information to journalists? Hear, hear.
Honourable Prime Minister. Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, for the official opposition to fully understand the situation, it is important for those in the opposition who have the necessary security clearance to be privy to certain classified details. That can only be done in the appropriate circumstances where the classified information remains classified. Members of the Privy Council are entitled to that information, and the offer has been made. It's rather odd that the official opposition doesn't seem interested in getting the facts.
The honourable member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, this entire House was seized with this matter last week because the official opposition only wants a briefing from the National Security Advisor of the same level he gave journalists. Now this minister is saying the only kind of briefing we can receive needs to be in confidence because of classified information. If we only want what was given to journalists, Mr. Speaker, is that minister confirming that the National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister revealed classified information to journalists?
Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I'm confirming no such thing. The fact of the matter is the Prime Minister has made an offer to the Leader of the Opposition. The Leader of the Opposition should accept that offer, and then further things can be discussed.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, let's try another way. Let's play the lie detector game. Jasper Atwell said he was invited by the Liberal government. The member for Surrey Centre says he invited Jasper Atwell. The Prime Minister says that the Atwell affair was a plot on the part of the Indian government to embarrass them. The Indian government says that it was not involved in this. The Minister of Global Affairs says that Jasper's invitation was an honest mistake. Mr. Speaker, someone is not telling all the truth. Who?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me repeat what the Prime Minister said to the Opposition a few moments ago. The Leader of the Opposition should accept the offer of a classified briefing from impartial government officials, and then further things can be discussed.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable. What is so secret, Mr. Speaker, about what was said to the reporters so that now it has to be said in private to the Leader of the Opposition? It's unacceptable. The family trip of the Prime Minister and his 5 ministers and 19 members of Parliament cost a fortune to taxpayers. Media around the world called this mission a diplomatic disaster. What is the Prime Minister hiding? Why is he preventing Daniel Jean from giving his version to the opposition, Canadians, and all those sitting here in this House?
Minister of Public Safety.
The answer is in plain sight. The Prime Minister has offered the Leader of the official opposition the classified briefing. He should accept that briefing, and then other things can be discussed. But, Mr. Speaker, it appears that the opposition is more interested in being willfully blind.
Honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
Mr. Speaker, the official opposition has been asking for the same briefing that was provided to the media on February 22nd. We have not asked for a super-secret briefing that could only be heard by members of the Privy Council. If the National Security Advisor surely did not ensure that the members of the media that he gave the briefing to were sworn in as members of the Privy Council. Right. So when can we get the same briefing that was offered to the media, and when will they stop hiding behind this big leaf of the Privy Council secret briefing?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition needs to be properly informed of all the appropriate classified information. And once he has that knowledge, Mr. Speaker, then other things can be discussed.
Honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
Mr. Speaker, once again, we have the Liberals caught with two conflicting stories. Either the National Security Advisor gave an unclassified briefing to the media, or he gave a classified briefing to the media which requires this to remain confidential. Did the National Security Advisor give a classified briefing to those who are not entitled to receive it?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the opposition simply refuses to listen. Mr. Speaker, the offer has been made to provide the Leader of the Opposition with all the details in a classified briefing. Once that has been done, Mr. Speaker, then other things could be discussed. The question is, why does the official opposition decline to be informed? It's as if they want to be willfully blind.
Mr. Speaker, the Atwal affair still has not been cleared up since this disastrous trip to India. The Prime Minister still refuses to answer our questions. We know that Daniel Jean is a professional civil servant who did not give classified information to the media during the briefing on February 22nd. Therefore, we're asking that he be allowed to answer our questions, something the Prime Minister is refusing to do. Given that no classified information was provided, why is the Prime Minister not even allowing Daniel Jean to appear before the Public Safety Committee and provide the same briefing?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has made a complete offer to the Leader of the Opposition to have the Leader of the Opposition briefed on all the classified details of this matter by the independent and impartial officials of the Government of Canada. The Leader of the Opposition should accept that offer, and then further things can be discussed. But if the Leader of the Opposition won't accept the offer, it's clear he doesn't want to be informed, and he's just playing politics.
The Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil. Order.
Mr. Speaker, I can't imagine a Canada where better is possible when Liberal MPs and the Prime Minister are engaged in an active cover-up by not allowing Canadians access to the same information given to the media. What is the Prime Minister and every single Liberal sitting in this House trying to cover up? Why are they muzzling a top respected civil servant? Does the Prime Minister actually believe a nonpartisan senior-level public servant would divulge classified information to journalists? And if so, what investigation has he launched into Mr. Daniel Jean?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, one minute the opposition pretends to defend Mr. Jean, the other minute they're attacking Mr. Jean. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, they are playing politics with this issue. If they wanted to get to the bottom of this whole situation, they would accept the offer of a classified briefing so that they can know the facts. If they would rather not know the facts, Mr. Speaker, then they're being willfully blind and they're just trying to play a cheap political trick.
Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil.
Well, Mr. Speaker, a briefing cannot be both classified and non-classified. I have a very simple question. Was the information given to the media by Mr. Jean classified or not, like the Minister of Public Safety just said?
Hear, hear. Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the offer has been made. It's up to the Leader of the Opposition to either accept the offer of a classified briefing and receive all of the necessary information so that he can be informed, or, I suppose, he can reject that offer. If he rejects the offer, Mr. Speaker, clearly he prefers to be willfully blind and he prefers to play politics with the situation rather than getting the facts.
Mr. Speaker, while the Prime Minister was a theatre teacher, I was a journalist. And we all know that when you can speak publicly about things and not. When he went to India, Daniel Jean briefed journalists and talked about a conspiracy. Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister refusing to give all Canadians access to the information that journalists were given?
Mr. Speaker, the offer has been made to the Leader of the Official Opposition to be fully briefed about all of the classified details of this situation. He should accept that offer so that he can be fully and completely informed. If he accepts the offer, Mr. Speaker, which I hope he will do, then other things can be discussed.
Gentleman member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, the minister's an honorable man. He's been in business for 35 years. He knows full well they're in trouble. Daniel Jean, the senior official, gave information to journalists, which was published subsequently. All we want is for all Canadians to have access to that information. It's simple, it's clear. Why is the minister and the Prime Minister refusing to give all Canadians the information that journalists got?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman says that the journalists have published all the information, and that's correct. The fact of the matter is, the Prime Minister has offered to the Leader of the Opposition complete details on this situation, the classified information, so that the Leader of the Opposition can be fully informed of all of the relevant facts and circumstances. Now, Mr. Speaker, why would a person interested in discovering the truth and the whole story turn down the information?
The honourable member for Carleton.
Did the National Security Advisor provide classified information to journalists?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the information that the opposition is craving is the information that the Prime Minister has offered to the Leader of the Opposition. He has offered him a full classified briefing so that he can know all of the facts. He should accept that offer, Mr. Speaker. If he turns it down, if he declines to have all the facts, one can only conclude that he prefers to be legally, willfully blind to the circumstances and play politics with the situation.
Honourable member for Carleton.
Did the National Security Advisor give classified information to journalists?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, again, the opposition is clearly determined to play politics with the situation, and they would rather not be informed of the facts in order that they can be willfully blind. Mr. Speaker, that's not acceptable. They need to accept the offer that was made by the Prime Minister, receive the information in an appropriate way, and then further things can be discussed.
A very simple and straightforward question. Did the National Security Officer give classified information to the media, yes or no?
Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the opposition is clearly playing political games with a very serious situation. The fact of the matter is, last Friday, they threw away an entire question period. They filibustered in unnecessary votes for hours on end. They have twice cancelled debate on the firearms legislation that's designed to make Canadians safer in their communities. Mr. Speaker, this government is this opposition is not at all interested in the public interest of Canada. They're interested in silly political games that simply don't stand the test.
A member for Caribou, Prince George.
Mr. Speaker, we have a question. Did the National Security Advisor provide classified information to the media, yes or no?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me return the favor. Will the Leader of the Opposition accept an offer for a full classified briefing on all the facts of the situation so he can be informed? Or does the Leader of the Opposition prefer to be willfully blind and play politics?
Honourable member for Caribou, Prince George. Order.
Doesn't the honourable colleague know that it's not polite to point? Mr. Speaker, can the minister answer this question, yes or no? Did the National Security Advisor provide the media with classified information?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, it is abundantly clear that the opposition is not interested in real information. It's not interested in facts and figures. it wants to obfuscate and play games with a very serious situation. The fact of the matter, the offer has been made. They should accept that offer, become informed, and if they decline to be informed, Mr. Speaker, clearly they're trying to be willfully blind and just play a political game.
Mr. Speaker, I'll be asking a question. I'm looking for an answer, not another question. Did the National Security Advisor give classified information to journalists? Thank you.
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Speaker, will the Leader of the Opposition accept a full classified briefing so he can be informed, or does he just want to continue a silly political charade?